everybody. This is Steve. I am your host, and welcome back to Project Riverside. Today we are studying James chapter 5, verses 1 through 6, and it's a warning to rich oppressors. The question here is, who are the rich oppressors? Now listen, you rich people, weep and wail, because the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted, and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like a fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fatted yourselves in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who is not opposing you. You know, to be frankly honest with you, this was one passage that always I struggled with. And, you know, you're talking about gaining wealth, right? So the question is always, to me, does that mean rich people aren't going to get into heaven? And it's something I've heard over and over again more and more as I was younger. But in doing some research for this podcast, a lot of the interpreters understand that the rich, in verse 1, condemned here, are unbelievers. As James warned that back in chapter 2, verses 2 to 6, to repent and weep because of the coming misery. So verses 1 to 6 are similar to Old Testament declarations of judgment against pagan nations, interspersed in books otherwise addressed to God's people, such as Isaiah chapters 13 to 23, or Jeremiah chapters 46 to 51, Ezekiel chapters 25 to 32, Amos chapter 1, 3 through 2:16. And a few suggest that the rich are Christians, already given the warnings earlier. Either way, it's a heart issue. If you think back to the Old Testament, some of the Old Testament leaders like Abraham. Abraham was pretty wealthy by standards of that day. Moses was wealthy by standards of that day. Job, King David, King Solomon. So it's not like we're not to be wealthy, because God still called them men after his own heart. But I believe here what he's talking about is our heart issues, right? We have the wealth he has given us, but we're not using it for his honor and his glory. So therefore, we're just storing it up. We're not getting it out there. We're just holding on to it, and it's going to corrode and rot. Now, clothes back then was one of the forms of wealth in the ancient world. You can look that up in Judges 14, 12, and 13. In verse 3, talking about the gold and silver being corroded, corrosion will testify against you and will eat your flesh like a fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. Well, the result of hoarding testifies against the judge and selfish rich. Verse 5, talking about luxury and self-indulgence on the day of slaughter, the day of judgment, the wicked rich are like cattle that continue to fatten themselves on the very day they're to be slaughtered, totally unaware of the coming destruction. And then 5:6, you have condemned and murdered the innocent one who is not opposing you. You know, the non-believers tend to be the ones who are going to take people to court over the smallest little things. They're the powerful ones, the rich. Those are not going to be paid their daily wages, may have to borrow the money back then. And if they had to borrow the money and couldn't be repay their loans, I should say, because the rich weren't paying them correctly, then they would have been thrown into debtor's prison that they had then, and eventually they would have died there because they would have never been able to get out. So it's the unbeliever rich that he's talking about here. He's not talking about those who use their wealth that God has given us for his honor and glory. You know, it's all God's anyway, right? So if we're to follow the scriptures, seeing as it's all God's, we're just giving back to him what's his anyway. And so I don't think this passage is telling us that all wealthy people aren't going to heaven. I believe this passage is talking about the wealthy people who have a heart issue or the non-believers. Those who are just saving to save and not using that extra money for those who need help, need a hand up, for those who are struggling. I hope that gives you guys a little bit of clarity on this. I know it gave me a little bit more clarity on what this is about. And look forward to finishing out. I think there's like 2 more sections here in James we're going to go through. That's 2 more weeks. And so I'm looking forward to it. Patience in suffering. Not that I'm looking forward to suffering. But James 5, 7 to 12 is patience in suffering. And then from 13 to the end is prayer of faith. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing this book out. Hope you guys are having a great day. And we'll look forward to talking to you next time.